video 2 of how I found out I was pregnant, pregnancy symptoms, etc., etc., just to be helpful and just so I remember and my son can see, like I said, when he gets married in the future to his wife and etc., etc. But so this is video 2, and like I was saying, so the only time I threw up was 16 weeks pregnant, 16, 17 weeks right there, and that, thank goodness, was it. Like after that, I've been trying to eat fruits. Like lately, I've been trying to eat apples. I loved lemons at the beginning of my pregnancy. So, oh yeah, that's another thing I wanted to mention too. So just in case if you want to like see if you're having a boy or a girl, I'm having a boy, but so you know everything's different. But I'm just saying what my symptoms were, and then I end up finding out that I'm having a son. Is I love salty foods. I loved potato chips. I love these lemon chips by Lay's, and I loved eating lemons with salt. Like that was my go-to. Like I just like lived off those for like my first like 13, 14, 15, 16, and then like and then the 20s, in the weeks of 21, 22, 23, 24 weeks pregnant. I loved lemons. Like I loved sour. I loved salty. I was like craving salty. And slushies, like I was like, I know I'm not supposed to have sugar. I was like slushies. I was really bad, and I love Java chip coffee. Like I just was like boom, 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 Java chip coffee like every other day, or like at least like 2, 3 times a week, because I'm like, oh, it just tastes so good for some reason. But lately I haven't had one for like now like 3, 4 weeks now, because lately I feel like now at 33 weeks I feel like definitely my food and appetite, my cravings have definitely subsided. I feel like I'm more full, of course, because he's thicker now and he's taking more room. So I'm like less hungry. I have less cravings. I haven't had, like I said, I haven't had a coffee or my favorite Sonic slushies in like weeks. But obviously too, because that's probably also because it's freezing. We have a wind chill going. So us in California, we're always usually dry, but we actually had some tricklets of rain, and that's devastating for us. And it's super like a freezing cold coming through. So what's making it cold is this wind chill. But so I'm like, that's probably why I don't want no slushies and whatnot, etc., etc. Besides that, I'm home alone now because everybody's back in work. So I'm like, I can't really walk because walking would be a couple miles because we're in the country. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not walking because this is far enough that I want to go for safety reasons. I'm like, just for safety. And no, not by myself. Not by myself. But yeah, so yeah, those are the symptoms. When I was pregnant, took 4 positive pregnancy tests, both different kind, blue and first respond. And yeah, threw up only once at 16, 17 weeks pregnant. So those are my symptoms that I felt. Um, when did I start feeling kicks and movements for my baby boy? From me, during my pregnancy, my first feeling the kicks in him moving finally, like officially, was like at 20 weeks. 20, 21, 22, 23, and obviously, of course, right now, 33 weeks. So it started at 20 weeks for me that he was just like, whoop, and then I feel like movements. I'd feel like him kicking, or I'd feel like him like turning around, and et cetera, et cetera. You could just feel things. So mine was at 20 weeks I started feeling movements with my baby boy, my son. And yeah, and ever since then, like I said, I felt like definitely 27, 28, 29, 30 weeks pregnant, because I was still kind of skinny-ish, but getting like, I look fat looking but still skinny-ish, that that like right there is when I felt like a lot of movements, like the official ones, like oh my gosh, like he's getting big and he's getting like whoo, he's turning. Like at 30 weeks, like it felt, he gives me pain because like it hurts, because it's like it's so, now he's so, 30 weeks he started being so strong that I'm like, oh my gosh, 30 31, 32, 33. I'm currently 3 weeks pregnant, sorry. But I'm 33 weeks pregnant, and yeah, now when he moves, I'm like, sometimes it's perfectly fine and I feel it and etc. And other times I'm like, ow, I am in so much pain. I'm like, ow, ow, ow. He is so strong. I'm like, I feel like he's like breaking everything inside of me already. That's like incredible for a 33-week-old baby boy. I'm like, ow. And then, oh, what's the most painful is when I'm like laying down or sitting up, leaning back against my pillows. And then like, oh my gosh, when I get up sometimes he is so low. Like he is on the perimeter of the being the lowest. And I'm like, ow, ow, ow. For me, during my pregnancy, that's like the most painful. When he's like the super lowest, Like I love when his butt's in my rib and he's like right here on my left side. His head's right here on my left on my hip, and his butt's usually in my rib cage. I'm like, that's always where he's at all the time. But that's like perfect. That's like not painful. I love it. I always sometimes even pat his butt, and he'll move or like kick me back, and it's like how cute. He's like, don't touch my butt, and I'm like, that's my witty booty, because he's my baby boy. But yeah. So I like love when he's floating there. He's just moving or just whatnot. But woo, when he goes too low sometimes, and it's usually at night. Like when I go pee, and then Babe was like last night, he was probably like, because you empty your bladder, he probably went down a bit more. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably it, because I forget about that. I'm like, oh yeah, because every time I empty out my bladder, and then like at night, and he goes super super low, I'm like, I'm in so much pain. I'm like, I can't even sometimes walk, or I just stand there for a minute and try to scoot him up a little bit, because I'm like, woo, it's not time, baby boy, don't come out. But I'm like, woo, it's so painful. That is what's painful. It's funny when he's so low. It's like, and he's just so heavy that it hurts my situation, my area. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's so heavy. It's like, it's so funny. And then when he scoots up, it's like, oh, I can breathe. But yeah, so, and then now, like I said, I'm 33 weeks pregnant. At 32 weeks pregnant, what it started, it was, I forgot, did I write that down? Hold on. There, I did. Yeah, 32 weeks pregnant, I started getting leg cramps right there. And I'm 33 weeks, so it's been for 2 weeks now. That once in a while, I will wake up, my leg will get a horrendous Charlie horse and wake me up. And I'll have to rub it and like try to kick it out for like a minute or two. And it takes like 2-3 minutes to subside, but it is so painful. So I get excruciating Charlie horses starting at 32 weeks and currently 33 weeks, and those are painful and they really suck. It feels like my leg is breaking. It could be either or leg. It goes back and forth with my left or my right leg. It just wakes me up. Like I could be in a deep sleep, and at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the morning, it'll just like lock up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it is so painful that it is excruciating. So that is another symptom that I have during my pregnancy so far, at least. And woo, does it hurt. So if you mamas get that, I just stay calm and just rub my leg. Because at first I would be like, I wanted to cry, but I'm like, Leisha, remember, you gotta stay calm, and it's totally worth it. I love my baby boy. So I just get up, I just wake up, and then sit up real quick, because it's excruciating, and just rub it out until it's over, and then go back to sleep. But it's like, woo. And then starting was it last night or the other night? Starting 2 nights ago, at 33 weeks pregnant, now I'm waking up now during the night to pee, and that just started. Because at first I didn't need to. I would just go to bed, go to pee. Before I went to bed, I'd go to pee, and then I'd be fine and sleep all night until like my babe wake up like at 6:30, 7 a.m. to go to work, and then I'd just wake up because I'd be like, I can't go back to sleep, so I'd eat breakfast and whatnot. But now, like I said, 2 nights ago at 33 weeks pregnant, now I'm starting to wake up at night. I woke up the other night at 3 a.m. to go pee. I was uncomfortable, so I couldn't sleep. I went to bed like at 5, probably around that time. I don't know, I wasn't paying attention to the clock. I was just trying to lay there. Then I woke up when, like I said, when babe was going to work. So I was a little bit cranky and moody. I get like that when I'm sleepy. It's so funny. I'm like a big baby. I've always been. Like, I'm tired. Even though I know I'm going to be tired later with the baby and whatnot. But at least I'll have my little love. So I won't be cranky towards him. Just everybody else. Just kidding. But, and then last night I woke up. Last night I didn't wake up at 3. Instead I woke up at 4 a.m. Because that time I did look at the clock. And then I had to go pee again. So I'm like, oh, okay. Now at 33 weeks, my bladder's starting to be full, and I gotta pee more often. But obviously it's because they say, now he's peeing, my son, now, so we're gonna have to go pee-pees a lot more. So I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense. So of course, so I'm just saying that as a symptom so I can remember and help women that are feeling symptoms similar or different, or want to see what symptoms might come later and whatnot. So like I said, I will go through one more overview. So like I said, found out I was pregnant. I missed my period, obviously. I had a sharp pain walking my dogs. I took 4 pregnancy tests that were positive, and then my doctor, I took a urine test. At 16 weeks pregnant is the only time I threw up, but only because I ate spaghetti and it wasn't probably cooked right. 16, 17 weeks right there. And I started feeling kicks and movements at 20 weeks, and they increased over time, of course. Like the more weeks you go, the more you feel baby and more you feel baby. And at 32 weeks pregnant is when I started feeling my legs cramps. Oh yeah, and like I said, more urine, and also headaches and dizzy spells. That kicked in more too at 32 weeks and 33 weeks pregnant. I'm just getting like dizzy off and on, and headaches off and on. But the doctor said that's normal because etc. etc. Your uterus is expanding, your body's stretching, etc. Baby's growing. So the headaches and dizzy spells really suck. But Tylenol definitely helps. So take some Tylenol once in a while. I try to only take one if I'm really, really bad. I don't like giving my son anything like that, but you can, of course. The doctors even say you can have Tylenol. I just prefer not to, but I do now when I have headaches and dizzy spells, because those what sucks. Because I used to get those before I was pregnant too, really bad dizzy spells, but now it's because I'm pregnant now, so I just got to check on them and whatnot. So yeah, so those are this is my pregnancy videos to remember, show my son, show his wife in the future when they have their baby, and like I said, to help other women who are just like, I wonder what symptoms I might feel. I wonder, and then if they are experiencing what I'm going through too, I'd be like, woo, we're the same, twinsies. But Lord help us during our pregnancy, and we'll be just fine. So far, so good. I'm just trusting the Lord Jesus. When I give birth, I'm just gonna remember I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The Lord will be with me, and Jesus knows. You can't really, when you're going into pregnancy. When you're going to give birth, sorry. It is going to be what it is. You could choose a path, but it might not be that path. You might have a C-section, you might just give birth right there, but do your business. So I'm like, yeah. And you might want to breastfeed. Like, I really pray in Jesus' name I get to, but some moms can't, so they have to go bottle feed, and etc. So it just is what it is. Take one day at a time, breathe. As long as baby and you are alive and you're safe and whatnot, life's good. That's all you need. One day at a time.